Hi everybody, we're in Independence today, just down this road right here, Lexington. You should be able to see the Jackson County Courthouse, and we're actually at the corner of Lexington and Temple Drive at the Community of Christ Temple and World Headquarters. And what I want to do is go to another marker that's part of the Missouri Mormon walking trail, and it's just down this sidewalk. And then after that, I thought we'd go up and check out the Community of Christ Temple since we're here. They're doing some kind of maintenance or repairs, so I want to show you that. And right now we're passing Remnant Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. For the benefit of anybody that's new to the channel, or if you haven't seen the videos where I've covered this, this is a break off from the RLDS church. They didn't agree with the way that the church was going, and so they're part of all these different branches that broke off, and all the other branches are just collectively known as restoration branches. But this one seems to be the largest and the most organized, and you could argue it's essentially its own denomination stemming from the RLDS tradition. I have a video, if you go back a little ways on my channel, I have a video where I got a tour of the inside by their prophet president, Terry W. Patience, and he showed me that floor right there where all the blinds are closed. That's their temple space called the sanctuary. It's essentially supposed to be like a temporary temple, and he said that he believes that Christ could appear there before the second coming. They also have a visitor center, and so I got footage of that if you're interested. But as far as I can tell, aside from them, all the other restoration branches are just kind of, each branch is autonomous. I've heard that there's different factions. The other branches wouldn't really accept that Terry W. Patience is the new prophet president, but they all have that same the same roots in the RLDS tradition. Okay, so the marker that we're looking for in this video is just right up here at this bus stop, of all places. Again, there are 14 markers in the sidewalks of Independence that make up the Missouri Mormon walking trail. There's some steps you can take to go to the main entrance to the temple. But right in front of the bus stop, this is marker number 3, Patridge Homesite in school. We'll go ahead and let this bike go by really quick. An early Mormon school and homes of Bishop Patridge, John Carrill, and Isaac Morley were located here. Church leaders preached at the school. Missouri Mormon Frontier Foundation. So I think that's really neat, and I don't know how many acres Bishop Patridge had or how big the property was, but it was somewhere over here. I did a video a while ago where we were in Kansas City on 55th Street, and there's a property over there that's marked as having have belonged to Bishop Patridge and also Alexander Donovan. Now, I don't think that Bishop Patridge lived there. That's just my guess and speculation. You'll remember that Bishop Patridge was supposed to purchase land for the saints to settle as they came to Zion. So I think that's all that is. I don't know how Alexander Donovan got involved. I know that Alexander Donovan had some relationship with the church, Joseph Smith, So I don't know, maybe as they were being expelled from Jackson County, maybe Bishop Patridge, you know, talked to Alexander Donovan and offered to sell that land to him or something like that. I'll have to look into that more. But that other property in Kansas City, it's a private residence, but they have a marker. There's like a plaque that's like at the front part of the property, close to the street, and they have like a little pathway that you can walk up for visitors to come and see it. But as far as Kansas City goes, the only historical sites that I know of, like church historic sites, are that one, and then there's another one that I'd like to go to at some point. It's currently known as Troost Park. There used to be a marker there. Like there's like this like cement block with a plaque that had a really neat depiction of Joseph Smith and the early church members. And that was the location where the first log was placed, like in the ceremony. The first log placed in establishing a presence in Zion, essentially. I'm probably not wording it very well, but it was like symbolic of the beginning of the establishment of Zion. Even though it wasn't here in Independence, I guess just in general, you know, the saints coming to this area and setting up shop. So the plaque, I guess, has been stolen, so there's not much to see, but I'd still like to go over there and at least film the cement block that's still there. And then, so those are the only two historic sites that I know of in Kansas City. And then on top of that, there's a couple places that have signs that don't necessarily mark a location where something happened, but that mention Joseph Smith, or that mentions the Mormons. So I'm gonna go hunt those down at some point. Here's the Community of Christ emblem. And I've always been curious what this would look like, or what's back there when you open it up, because you can see that it's a door, or it's like they'll like slide in such a way that there's like, I think 3 openings here. Not exactly sure. This might be the biggest like emblem like this for Community of Christ that I've seen. It is pretty large. When Community of Christ was having their 2025 World Conference, and along with that they had the 2025 World Expo. The expo was in the temple. My wife and I were able to go inside and just walk around, and we had free range. We were able to see whatever we wanted to. And I don't know if you can really tell from out here, but when you're on the other side, when you're on the inside at this spot right here, it's actually like all this like yellow and green stained glass, and it's pretty, it looks pretty incredible from the inside. Kind of like how this looks on the outside too. I personally like this temple just architecturally. Of course, I don't feel like it compares to any of our temples. You know, whether it's sacredness or architecture, it's just different. I'm not a big fan of when people say bad things about other churches or their buildings. That's just not who I am, and I would encourage you to abandon those kind of attitudes as well. And just appreciate it for what it is. It is a really neat area to explore. I hope that you're enjoying this video. We're already done with the main subject, which was just that plaque marking Edward Patridge's property. But I think this area is pretty neat. If you're new, go back on my channel. I have a video of the inside of the temple. And I also have a video right here in the World Plaza. That's what this is called right here. You can see how it's like it's the world. Like there's Africa, there's Madagascar, South America, North America. I have another video where I was right here when they were having the conference session in which they ordained the new prophet president, Stacey D. Cram. And she was the first, or she is the first female prophet president of Community of Christ. So that was a big deal for them. And after they were done with that session, they came out those doors of the auditorium. They had the streets blocked off. And they came out those doors, and then there was a procession that came all the way over here and into the World Plaza. There was a stage and a screen. That's actually where I started the video, is they had a screen showing the proceedings in the auditorium. So I was watching the screen, and then as it ended, there were these singers that started to lead the procession out of the auditorium. And then I walked over there onto the temple lot and watched them as they came out, and then I came over here and filmed the whole thing. And Stacey D. Cram was receiving you know, members of her church that were coming to line up and congratulate her on her new calling. It was really, really interesting. So if you haven't seen that video, I would encourage you to watch it after this. But it was just so crazy on that day because I've never seen so many people over here. I mean, as you can see, this is what it normally is. There's hardly ever anybody over here. That is the only time I saw more than like 2 or 3 people. Now, they do have an entrance right there. Like right now it's closed, but when the World Conference was going on, you could just like go through those doors and into the temple and whatever. But yeah, go check out those 2 videos. The one where I'm inside the temple, and then the one where I video the celebration of the ordination of Stacey D. Cram. And I actually got a picture with her. My wife and I got in line. We congratulated her and told her that we wish her well, and I hope that she does a good job in leading her church. And we'll just see what the future holds. I feel like her leadership is going to bring a lot of change. It's already a big change just in the fact that she's the first female prophet president. But I think that almost like signifies that there's going to be even more change. I tend to think that over time, in an orderly way, they're probably going to start to like move away from this area. I mean, you can see these are really large buildings, and I don't know that their church is growing per se. I know that they're struggling financially, and so these are big expenses. Let's see. Harmony, many voices, one mission, proudly providing flowers since 2009. Harmony LGBT. They are a very progressive church. It seems like that's what led to the schism around the 80s. The more conservative side wasn't happy with the direction that the church was going. I feel like one of the first big flashpoints was the ordination of women to the priesthood. There was also an issue with, what was it called? I think it was called Supreme Directional Control or something like that. where it seemed like the church became a little bit more centralized, and there were people that didn't like that. But anyway, it seems to have been mostly along those kind of lines, conservative and liberal lines, that the church experienced a schism. All right, last time I was up here, there were a lot more of these tiles that were out of place, kind of like what you see over here. But it looks like they went ahead and made the necessary repairs, or did the necessary maintenance, whatever it is that they're doing. It doesn't look like they're done yet though. This whole area right here, the whole thing looked just like that. It was pretty dramatic looking. Since I've been here, I have seen a lot of maintenance and repairs, both to the temple as well as the auditorium. You probably can't see too well from here, but they do have some, I'm not sure what those are, but they kind of look like braces right there. Not too long ago there was scaffolding, and there still is scaffolding on the other side of the auditorium, but they've been working on the auditorium the whole time that I've lived here, which I moved here in February. And then those stairs that we walked down after looking at the emblem, those are brand new. I saw them take out the old ones and then just redo that whole area right there. I've been told, and I'm not saying this to offend anybody, but I've been told that the temple here is not on a very good foundation, and so there's been issues over the years as the building has settled. So I can only assume that the stairs were probably a victim of that, and they wanted to get that fixed before the World Conference. And then this is actually new, I think. I do not remember this set of signs right here being here before, just like maybe a month or two ago. So you have 3 languages. Let's see, it looks like it starts with Spanish, and then French, and then English. And then the Community of Christ is in Spanish, Comunidad de Cristo. Community of Christ upholds the sacredness of creation as an enduring principle. This commitment to environmental health and protection inspired the installation of this native garden. Native plants minimize the need for pesticides and fertilizers, leading to improved soil, air, and water quality. Lush native landscapes also protect against erosion, reduce flooding, and draw carbon down into soil to help reduce carbon emissions. So, okay, well, that's great. I know that our church is doing a lot of work with temple properties to also have native, you know, flowers and plants, and there's also all this like water conservation stuff going on. And then they have that area over there covered with a tarp. Okay, well, let's go check out the other signs, because I've never read these before. They call this the labyrinth. I don't really know anything about it, but they have a labyrinth up here. Like I said, I actually like this area just because I like open spaces, especially like large structures like this. It's just, I don't know, there's just something about it that I like. Not from like a spiritual standpoint, just I like open spaces like this. Okay, this one, Community of Christ in English, and then English is at the top, and then Spanish, and then French. Welcome to our rooftop prairie garden. Today in North America, less than 4% of tall grass prairie ecosystem remains due to human development and agriculture. Through sustaining this native garden, we are providing vital food and ecosystems to pollinator species, birds, and mammals. This garden is intended to be a space of beauty for all to enjoy as they journey on the temple grounds. It is nice. I like it. I think it's pretty. I kind of like this long plant. It almost looks like a cactus, but it's definitely not a cactus. Maybe it's like a Midwest version of a cactus. I've never seen a plant like that in my life. Do you know what that is? Please let me know in the comments below if you do. All right, we got 2 more, so let's go check those out. When I first came here, I didn't know what that was. To me, it looks like a security office or something like that. I knew that probably wasn't what it was. You do have security cameras right there, but it turns out that when you go inside, they have a, I think it's called the meditation chapel. And so the meditation chapel is down here, and then this is like these are skylights that let in natural light. Okay, this one, Community of Christ in French. English is in the middle. Come and find the quiet center. This native prairie garden not only provides immense diversity in plant life, but also supports and promotes the presence of many species of insects, birds, soil, microbes, and other wildlife. Take a moment to be still and consider the immense beauty and diversity of creation. From right here, you can kind of see the roof of the Independence Visitor Center right there. I don't know how well that shows up on your screen, but I can see the arches of the arcade. Okay, and then we got one more sign. So let's take a look at this. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know. I'm assuming that this is still French, Spanish, and English. Well, I know Spanish and English for sure. I served my mission in Spain, in the Spain-Barcelona mission. And I feel like I can usually tell if something is French. So I think this whole time it's been those 3 languages, but I don't know, it just looks a little bit communauté de Christ. Hold on. So that one is French, Community of Christ, and this one is 2. Okay, so I guess these 2 signs, the Community of Christ is in French. It looked a little bit different. I was wondering if they were like, if there was like a 4th language coming into play. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Community of Christ upholds grace and generosity as enduring principle. Restoring prairie is an act of grace, giving life back to the land and its creatures. The interconnected ecosystem of the prairie also gives back to human life in immeasurable ways. We are gifted with beauty, improved soil and air quality, and an overall healthier planet for future generations. We recognize that our relationship with nature must not be one of exploitation, but rather of interdependence and respect. So, yeah, they're really focused on a lot of that, and you know, that's good. At the World Expo, there were a bunch of booths set up inside the temple, and a lot of them had to do with either environmentalism or social justice causes and stuff like that. Looks like they left a bin out here. Some garbage inside. Got some wood chips up here. I wonder if they're gonna plant some stuff up here too. Now, I don't know where it is from here. Well, I kind of do. They have like an atrium inside, and there, oh yeah, I think it's right there. You can kind of see it. There's like a Japanese garden in there. It's like when you're in the meditation chapel, there's these windows that look into the atrium, and it's a Japanese garden. And from what I read, the Japanese sister city of Independence came and helped them construct or plan out the atrium to plant the garden. Oh yeah, it looks like we can get a better view from over here. You can see how that dips down, and then there's a atrium in there. The meditation chapel is probably their closest analog to like a celestial room. You have like the main chapel that might better be described as like an auditorium, but not to be confused with the auditorium. But inside there you have like the main meeting space, and you look up and you can see the spiral that goes all the way to the top of the spire, especially like when you're just right in the exact middle, the center. But that one is mostly for like official meetings, and then the meditation chapel, as the name implies, is mostly for just quiet time and meditation. And you know, when I was there were people in there sitting as though it was like a celestial room of sorts. And then here they have their cross, and then looking down, there is the main entrance to the temple. And then they have this little kind of parking, like this drop-off area, and they have this little bush that they shaped in a spiral to kind of look like the temple, which is a nice touch, of course. So yeah, there's a lot of things inside the temple. We just talked about the two chapels. They also have a thing called, oh my gosh, if I remember, I think it's called the Worshipper's Path. It's like a little path that has a series of displays. Oh, here's a sign for the labyrinth in the 3 languages. But they have the Worshipper's Path. It's a series of displays. Each display is like, you know, for example, there's one that's for the prodigal son. They have another one for the tree of life and stuff like that. You know, obviously with different interpretations of those concepts than what we would have traditionally. There's also the museum. It has a lot of, you know, artifacts, things that would be significant. Some of them only significant to their church, and other things that would be significant to both churches. I think they have one of the original windows or glass or something from the Kirtland Temple. Oh, that's blocked off. I think they just forgot to take that down, because it definitely wasn't blocked off when we went up there. It was blocked off like a week ago, because like I said, there were more of those tiles that were taken up and loose. So I think I'm okay coming down here. This definitely isn't a restricted area down here. I've never noticed this before though. There's a little dedication plaque. I never noticed this before. Let's see. The temple, dedicated to the pursuit of peace, April 17th, 1994. Okay. I'm always happy when I find something new. And then you have a path over here that excuse me, that takes you back up to where we were just at when we started exploring the temple. And then over that way is the parking lot, and it's a pretty large parking lot. I have seen it relatively full, maybe not all the way full to capacity, but I saw it pretty full during World Conference. Also on the 5th of July, when the church hosts the firework display from the grounds of the Independence Visitor Center. You have people that park in all the different parking lots around here, including over here at the temple. Some people walk over to the Independence Visitor Center grounds, and others just stay in the parking lots. But anyway, okay, so what else is there in the temple? It seems that there's a bunch of offices and classrooms and things like that as well. Okay, yeah, this is called Shalom Circle, which in Hebrew, Shalom means peace. And I actually saw them use this in something that they said on social media. I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was something to the effect that, you know, the church is striving for shalom or peace. Of course, you have all the millennial imagery with Community of Christ, with the emblem that has the child with the lion and the lamb, which would be a reference to Isaiah in the millennium and the peace that's supposed to prevail. Okay, now I've never been over here either. I don't know if you can read it yet, but that says Temple School Center. And I don't know what that is or what that means. I'll have to look it up. Employees main entrance, and it points back that way to the main entrance. But I'm assuming that their first presidency and council of the 12 apostles, I'm assuming that they have offices here because this is the headquarters building. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I feel like 98% sure. And I can start to see people over there on, I don't know if that no, yeah, that's the Independence Visitor Center land. I was trying to determine if what I was seeing was like the Stake Center property, which it all kind of, you know, it all kind of runs together. But let's look over this way and look back. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised at how much fun I had with this video. I was worried it was going to be a little bit boring, just looking at the plaque and then walking places that I've already walked at the Community of Christ Temple, but I haven't explored it all. At this point I probably have, but who knows, maybe I'll find another marker or walkway or something like that. So now we're on Walnut Street. Just right up there is the mission home, and then you have the Independence Stake Center. Over there you have picnic tables and pavilion, and then the Independence Visitor Center is right there. Yeah, that was nice. Okay, so the new things that I saw on this walk were those, I think there were 4 signs up near the labyrinth. I've seen the progress that they've made with those tiles, and then the dedication plaque that I didn't know about. And then I already forgot. I have such a bad memory. Then that entrance to the temple school, or whatever it was called. I'd never walked on that sidewalk before. And oh wow, you can start to see all these fall leaves. Look at all those red leaves. Pretty soon here, I'm not exactly sure when, but maybe within this next week or two, I want to go back up to Adamonte and see the fall colors, because I'm sure it's beautiful at Adamonte during fall time. So the colors are definitely starting to change around here in Independence, but I kind of want to wait until it's at its peak. I don't know when that's going to be, so I'm just going to have to keep an eye out. But yeah. All right, well, that's probably good enough for this one. Oh, I guess let's finish with this.